Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of MANOVAAC with the lovely audience today with us. Here we are in conversation with Guruji, and Guruji, this is the first question of this episode. This is from Hemlata. Can an individual have spiritual ego arising from own spiritual progress, knowledge and experiences? Does that lead to spiritual rigidity or any other consequences?
Okay, nice, lovely question. I think the worst kind of ego, if you can categorize it as the most destructive, is the spiritual ego. And see, all other bases of having arrogance and an inflated ego are very temporary. Means if you have power and you have the arrogance of power, you can lose that power anytime. I mean, whether it's in a corporate or in political field, or even in social field or in entertainment, it's fleeting and only for a few days. So you know that there is a finite time limit to it. So the arrogance is tempered. There is arrogance. I mean, a lot of them are arrogant about it, but somewhere in your heart, you know it can end at any moment. Spiritual arrogance is very different in the sense it gives you first a sense of false superiority, leading to what psychologists term as the Messiah complex or the God complex.
Okay.
And you start thinking that you are just so much better than all other human beings when you're actually not.
Or special.
Yeah, you're special and you're something divine and you're God's gift to mankind. Oh, rubbish. Nobody is God's gift to mankind. Only God is God's gift to mankind. No human being is. So the spiritual ego rises very fast. It's very subtle at times, because outwardly, people are very humble and they show a lot of humility, but inside there is a very big monster that's growing in them, and the consequences are terrible in the sense that a lot of people make excellent progress through very good sadhana, but if they get eaten by this monster of spiritual ego, they can fall hard and they can fall fast, and it will take them a long time to again get up on their feet. They can. It's not that you fall forever, but you fall hard and fast, and all that effort that you've put in just evaporates in that one moment or in that one blink of an eye. So one has to be very, very aware of this spiritual ego. And if you're not rooted, if your feet are not on the ground, it is so easy to get carried away. Because, there are a lot of people who will inflate that ego, fan the fire. Mm-hmm. You show a few tricks, or you show or sometimes you project something that you're not, and people fall for it. And then people start thinking that, oh, you are God's gift to mankind, and you are that special, and you have, things that others don't have. You will be able to solve their problems like this. Tuck. You can just make things happen for them. And you start believing that, and you get carried away. And people fan that so much. That's why you see all these godmen, mm-hmm. They rise, and then they crash. Because you project something you are not, and that arrogance goes to such a level with power and money and political patronage that your fall is virtually imminent. In that, it is. I mean, arrogance is where you are. You've dug your own grave. It's like that.
So one ego gets boosted by beauty, achievements, intelligence, or
success.
Yeah. So spiritual ego gets boost from what? What are the things?
It gets boosted by initially your sadhana which you do and you achieve a certain level. You see, obviously you have to, unless you're a complete con man, and you know from
Just
the very
pretend,
beginning
yeah.
that I'm zero, but I've got to show that I'm something, and I'm doing it with an agenda. That's a different thing. Those are not genuine spiritual ego. But the spiritual ego comes in when you achieve something, and people also perceive that you have achieved something, and you do have certain powers, and you do have that kind of enlightenment also,
or certain spiritual success.
That's what I'm saying. You have that enlightenment, and then that you can't keep your feet on the ground, and you get carried away with all the adulation that you get, the worship that you get. People fall at your feet, and people are ready to do anything for you. They take your every word as the final truth. I mean, that can be a very heady feeling. And unless you're really, really well rooted, and I would say, there's a solid foundation of your spiritual sadhana, you can easily get carried away and make a mess of it.
Sometimes it may so happen that you don't share any of this with others, but you have achieved, and inside you feel little joy. You are not showing it off.
Okay.
So that is okay. That's
okay.
not an ego.
No. Spiritual ego comes and starts manifesting outside when you start showing much more than what you are. B, you start controlling people's lives. C, you have an agenda, very deep personal agenda of acquiring power and wealth. All this shows that, okay, your spiritual ego has gone haywire now.
Okay.
Or you think, or you have this messiah complex, and you start saying, okay, I am God, and like everything God is doing through me, and I am the savior, and rubbish like that. Then you are in for trouble.
But enjoying on your own, you are
every sage enjoys on his own. Inside he is in complete bliss. That is okay. That doesn't affect anyone else. Or arrogance has to be outside,
and it's visible to some extent.
It may be visible. He may be walking on his hands for all you care. That's his problem.
Okay.
That doesn't affect people outside. Arrogance must affect people outside.
Yeah. People can notice it.
People can notice it. No. It has to have negative implications. Your arrogance has negative implications. And you start working with an agenda. That is dangerous. If you are happy with yourself and you are in a state of bliss, that is obviously that's going to happen. And that's okay.
There's nothing wrong in that.
Nothing wrong. It should happen.
It should happen. Okay. Audience, do you have any question on this regarding spiritual ego, or any problems related to that? Fair enough. So we can go to the next question then. Is being spiritual different from being religious?
Okay.
Can a spiritual person not be religious, or vice versa?
Yes, I think being spiritual and religious is like chalk and cheese. They are completely different. Though you can put them in the same bag, but they are still chalk and cheese. And most people start off being religious because our social conditioning is that we live in societies, we grow up with parents and people around us. So obviously religion has a certain influence and bearing upon us. So our very first exposure to divinity is through religion. Now, again, as I said, depending on the evolution of the soul, some people are very drawn to it. Some people reject it and say, "Arey hai to hai." Like, I mean, if it's there, fine. I'm not into religion. I'm not into spirituality. Let other people do. Okay, I may or may not believe in God. That's my personal thing. There are such people. Others are who will follow religion and as they grow older, they get more zealous about religion. Now, nothing wrong with that. Till you become extreme. In any religion, if you become extremist, then you're not even religious. You're not even a human being.
Then it's a problem.
Then there is a severe problem. But otherwise, normal people, they go along with the herd mentality of religion, because religion is more or less, it's a opium of people. It's something that, at least in our country, in India, it is I think probably one of the most religious countries in the world, and nothing wrong about it, very good. But we are exposed to so much of religion and so much of divinity around us that you cannot grow up without noticing it or without in some way getting involved
Influenced
with it.
also.
Or influence it. Correct, absolutely. Influence it. Now, slightly evolved souls see the, I won't say futility, but see the limitation of religion. That religion can take you up to a limit, but not further. So those kind of souls then seek something higher. And they say, okay, let religion be where it is. I don't mind. I'm worshipful towards that. But I need something more. I need something more to satisfy myself, because that void that you feel inside cannot be satisfied by religion. So then they seek spirituality. And then they gravitate towards spirituality. Because spirituality is all about going within, going inside, discovering yourself, changing yourself. Religion is not about changing yourself. Religion is about following rules, which are set by the institutions, or whichever institution that governs the religion. Spirituality is personal. It has nothing to do with any institution. It has nothing to do with, in fact, not even with any god or deity at times. Maybe you can start with that, but ultimately it is discovering who you are and what you have within you.
There are no rules to identify you in certain category of religion.
No. You can be completely, I would say, non-aligned from religion and be highly spiritual. You don't have to indulge in a religion to be spiritual. You can keep both of them with you, but you can even make it mutually exclusive. So you can be highly spiritual and not be religious.
Okay. Now I come to that somewhere middle, where we are little religious also and more spiritual also. So we follow certain things from our religion, but more focus is on spiritual.
Absolutely. See, most of the religious rituals are for problem solving, just guiding you in life and getting you out of a little bit of difficult situations in life. They won't give you the satisfaction that your spiritual growth can give you.
Or rather, Guruji, I share like what I experience, obviously. Earlier, I would do those rituals very mechanically. Now, after turning spiritual, I find deeper meaning in whatever little religious things I do. And I now sort of enjoy it. So that connection...
That connection you make, the few rituals that you do have deeper significance and meaning. And you can really sift out the ones that are pot boilers from the really powerful rituals,
And you have simplified all these things for us, because you are the one to set examples. Like even in Yagya, you say ki if we call and we offer something, we don't even need any middleman. What you need is a very pure heart and intensity, and that's it. So I found that way of discovering religious more attractive, more what you say, liberating.
Sure. Why should there be a difference between what you do and what another human being? They are both human beings. If he can do something or she can do something, you can do it.
And now we realize that if you have devotion, you don't have to have set rules or patterns. You just go with what your heart tells you.
You go with what your heart tells you. You go with what your inner feeling guides you. The inner, as they say, the inner guru guides you.
So now, in my case, it has reversed. I was not religious at all. Now I have turned religious, but spiritual religious.
Which
That's
is a good
third category.
Which is a very good combination to have a bit of religious base and you can indulge in a few rituals. It's not something prohibitive, but your foundation should be spiritual. Yes.
Yes. I turn to the audience. Any one of you? Yes, Sheetal, you ask first, then Alifia, I'll come to you.
Namaste, Guruji. Guruji, if you are performing certain, rituals or any religious practices, from generation to generations, if you break in between, if I break something,
Yeah.
if I, with, in this generation, so
Yes.
what is the impact, Can we do that?
Yeah, there are certain practices which are carried out for many generations in certain families, in certain castes. Uh, I'm not too aware of many of these rituals, but yes, I know there are there. Now, if you want to break the mold, you are most welcome to, and you can. But you must know how to break the mold. There are certain steps to do that. You can't just give it a kick and say, okay, now I'm too modern, and okay, my father and my grandfather and their grandfathers did that, so fine, but I'm not going to do it, so out with it. No, there are certain procedures to break the mold and come out of it. You have to find out what those procedures are and follow them and come out of it. But you can come out of it. It is not that you are stuck with it for the next so many generations, because let me tell you, the future generations will not do it. So, yes, there is a way out, but you must know how to come out of it.
Yes. Alifia, it's your turn now.
Hi, Guruji. So, Guruji, you said that a person can be non-religious but highly spiritual.
Yeah.
So, if you could just explain that a little more. So, when you said he's just non-religious but highly spiritual, so
Meaning
No,
what?
meaning highly spiritual, meaning your personal sadhana has to be your backdrop, your most prominent, you can say, focus.
Self-growth.
Self-growth, discovering your inner self, discovering inner qualities about you, refining, purifying. That should be your priority. And yes, where necessary for social reasons or for your own satisfaction also, you can indulge in a certain religious ceremony or religious ritual at the minimum if you want, or you can, if you have time and inclination, you can indulge in it. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's not that you'll become less spiritual because of that, but it is a strain on your time and your resources. So if you do want to go in for that, fine, but don't get stuck in it. The moment you get stuck in religious rituals to the detriment of your spiritual goals, and you're only concentrating on the religious side, then obviously you're losing out. But if you indulge in it for some social reasons, no problem. I mean, but make your spiritual growth your mainstay. I mean, that should be your primary focus. This is only to show people that, okay, I'm normal. Don't think I'm abnormal because I do my spiritual practices.
Because here also a lot of conflict is taking place between a sadhak and the family.
Yeah.
They are resisting, or they are
Of course.
And sometimes then you have to strike a balance, I think.
Of course
to
you
keep
have
the family happy, you just have to
Sure.
do your bit.
So that's why I
and
said, what is necessary you indulge in.
Maintain
But,
peace.
Yeah, to maintain peace, to maintain harmony.
Harmony, yeah.
And even for your own some rituals do make you happy. I mean, I indulge in few rituals that make me very happy. But my basic, you can say, mainstay and foundation is my spiritual practices. This is just for a little, like you want to show your devotion, you want to show your gratitude or something. You indulge in those practices. That's fine.
Yes. I hope that answers our question. Sirisha, now to you.
Guruji. Guruji, there's a question from Hemlata. There are two of them. You have often mentioned about negativity affecting collective consciousness. How does that happen? And what happens to collective consciousness when there is too much negativity?
Okay. See, in the scheme of things on the planet, we must understand that every species has something called a collective consciousness, and every species has a different collective consciousness. So we humans also have a collective consciousness. Now, two factors affects collective consciousness. One is the yugas, in which yuga we are stationed. Okay, because the yugas are affected by the three gunas and the thinking of human beings. Because collective consciousness means how humans are thinking. So, depending on which yuga is going, the collective consciousness will match that. That is one thing. The other factor is how many people are thinking the same thing. So when a lot of people have the similar or same thoughts or same kind of thoughts, that gives a lot of strength to the collective consciousness. Now it may be positive or it may be negative. To a large extent it can be negative, but at times it is also very positive. So collective consciousness is how humanity is thinking, or which direction humanity is thinking. Now you will say, but there are billions of human beings and they are all thinking different thoughts. Correct, they are thinking different thoughts, but what is the direction of that thought? Is it on a positive level? Is it helping humanity, or is it destroying humanity, or is it to demolish humanity? You know, so that is where it makes a difference. Now, collective consciousness works in such a way, there's something called a critical mass. Okay, and this has been proved by scientists when they did the 100th monkey experiment. You can read it up. There's a book called the 100th monkey concept. It shows you how collective consciousness works. So when a certain critical mass of people think in a certain direction, either positive or negative, it affects the entire consciousness of that species. So, assuming that X is the critical mass for humanity. So, if X people think positive, yes, the whole consciousness will shift towards positive. If X people, which is the critical mass, which is always the lesser figure than the complete mass. So, say there are 7 billion. Now, for example, if the critical mass is 2 billion, I'm just giving you an example, don't take this as a benchmark. Say the critical mass is 2 billion. So if 2 billion people think negative, highly negative, the entire critical, the entire consciousness becomes negative. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's how the critical mass thinks in that one direction. It affects the whole consciousness of that species. So that is why it is very important for every human being to see that you are not thinking negative and you're thinking positive. And you're thinking on a humane, compassionate, loving basis rather than with hatred or with resentment or
Depression
or not depression, with a strong negative feeling towards somebody.
hatred, jealousy,
Jealousy,
greed,
anger. You know,
anger.
rather than that, you got to see that your thinking shifts to
more
the
positive,
positive
more
side. So,
compassionate.
if enough people think that way, or for most of the time, then the collective consciousness thinks towards the positive or changes towards the positive, and it affects even those who have
Everyone.
not been thinking positive. You know, it's like that. So collective consciousness affects everybody depending on the critical mass.
Audience, do you have a question? Yes, Sarah. Just pass on the mic.
Hello, Guruji. I have a question regarding this in two parts. One is during COVID, we did this marathon of
Mantra marathon.
and all. So, what was the impact exactly in this respect? And obviously, the whole population is not into spirituality. So, then how does this work, or what is the effect of that?
No. The mantra marathon that we did was not to change the collective consciousness, because collective consciousness is too big for a group of people as small as ours to change. But no, what we did during COVID times, the mantra marathon was for protection, and to build a kind of a wall of protection around us. You know, it was building a shield, an energetic shield. You know, it was not to change the mass consciousness. Now, to change the mass consciousness, I would require a few million or maybe a couple of billion people to chant those mantras. Yes, then you can change the course of destiny of the planet. But such a small group can't do that. That what we did during COVID was only to build an energetic shield around you for protection.
Guruji,
You want to ask? Huh.
Neerija.
Yeah. Hello, Guruji. I wanted to ask that when you say it's a collective consciousness and thoughts affect the people around, so does it mean that thoughts are like energy, or
Of course.
they are sent out to the universe?
Of
Like,
course.
if
Of
we
course.
see it in the way of science or physics,
Yes,
like,
yes, very much.
so
Very much.
it's not seen, but then probably something which is very
It's like
abstract.
energy, electricity. You can't see it, but you can see the result of it. So thoughts are, of course, they are energy, very energetic, and you can change things with that energy. Thought energy is very powerful, of course, 100%.
Is there any way that we can sense that energy, like some spaces which we
Sure,
go into,
sure.
we feel very
Sure.
energetic? So is
Yes.
it because of the
But
people
that's more
in
vibration,
that space?
you know, and vibration, of course, depends on thought. But what you feel is vibration. Definitely, it affects. It affects.
Okay. So here we come to the end of episode 7. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you, audience, for your lovely questions.